All right, this is the November 16th meeting of the Flood and Erosion Control Board, and I am calling the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. I'd like to go around and ask who is on the call. This is Becky Bunnell, Chair. If everyone could just say their names, please.
Don Lamberti, Vice Chair.
I'm Dick Mahusky, and I'm the Secretary.
Paul Andino, Member.
Peter Wiswell, Member.
And we have a couple members of the public as well. So I'm going to go ahead and move through the agenda. The first item on call is to hear and consider and act upon the minutes of September 21st. And then we also have the October 19th minutes and the special meeting of November 4th minutes. Did everyone get a chance to read those minutes, and are there any comments on any of those sets of minutes?
All right, so this is Dick. This is Dick, and we did actually approve the September 21st minutes according to my notes from the October meeting, but the minutes of the October meeting do not reflect that approval. So I added these to the agenda just so we could formally approve them. I did have some edits back in October, so I will just review those. On item 2 on the call, the master plan, the fourth line down, it starts with Wednesday, 9/29/21. It says, because there is a grant. And then because there is a grant, money that must be used. So that was a little confusing to me, so I suggested back in October that because there is a grant, be changed to discuss projects that CERCA can assist with under their current funding grant, and that we strike money that must be used. And then on item 3 on the call, the second line down, Arma Husky will work with Bill Hurley to make it more specific. I don't know what that means, so I suggested just striking that out, and that was agreed to back in October. And then also in the second paragraph of item 3, the Pequot Yacht Club is going to see if they could do some work with FECB. And I suggested replacing FECB with the town, and also on the next line down, bulkhead and a few other projects that would coordinate with FECB projects. And I suggested replacing FECB with the Perries Green project, because that's what it's adjacent to. And then on the last page, item 6, Don Lamberti gave an update on the Pine Creek Association. He was hosting a meeting that should read Mike Ginley, Ginley was hosting the meeting. And then on the second sentence, Mike decided to move the meeting to spring 2022. So those would be my comments and edits on the September 21st meeting. Do you want to take these one at a time, Becky, or take them all together, or what?
No, let's
one at a time might be better.
Stay on September. Does anyone else have any comments or suggestions for edits on the September minutes?
No.
Anyone else?
None here.
Okay, then I'd like to suggest that we accept the edits that Dick proposes and approve the September minutes with those edits as suggested. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, the September minutes are approved. Let's move on to the October 19th minutes. Are there any edits or suggestions for those?
None here.
None here.
1 second, please. I think because this October 19th, this was the meeting where both us and Mill Hill Building Committee shared the same conference call number. So I think we should just put a note at the beginning that says, note that the Mill Hill Building Committee special meeting shared the teleconference link. It was agreed that FECB would go first, and then Mill Hill would conduct their meeting. And that's just for clarity, because as of right now, the Mill Hill Building Committee meeting recording is not available online. I spoke with Prue about that, and she was going to contact Dave Kelly and get the recording split into two pieces or something. But just for clarity, I would suggest adding that as after the members listing before item 1 on call. That's the only thing I have.
All right. Any other comments or requested edits for the October 19th minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion that we approve the October 19th with the note added as Mr. Mahusky suggests. Do I have any seconds?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and the last set of minutes.
Jan Reaver today in a suburb outside of Orlando. Disney's moving water to
Who's talking about Orlando?
He said the only way you can buy a house down there now.
Excuse me.
It's Rick Brower.
Excuse me.
Rick, you need to mute yourself.
He said if you don't walk in today.
Okay, I just muted Rick, so we'll take that out of there. When he gets finished with his real estate transactions in Orlando, we'll let him back in.
Unmute. All right. The November 4th was a special called meeting, and it was specifically to discuss the charter recommendations. Does anyone have any comments on those minutes?
Yes, this is Dick, and I think those minutes are wonderful.
Because you took them.
Oh, I did them, yeah.
There you go.
No, I was trying to be funny. I have no comments.
Does anyone else have any comments on those minutes?
No.
All right, then I would like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, all of the minutes are approved with the recommended edits as suggested in the meeting. All right, the next item on call is to review the ARPA-funded mitigation projects and next steps on those. Just to remind everyone, there were 4 ARPA projects that were approved. That was the downtown resiliency for a little over $1.4 million, the Rooster River detention basins for $3.25 million, the wave erosion study for $400,000, and the Perries Green project for $1 million. I did not get an update from Bill on where they stand. I believe that there is a request for qualifications that has been put out to various coastal engineering firms to be able to get additional ad hoc engineering support for many of these projects before there is a formal request for proposal put out on these. And that actually was due. I think they were due back today, weren't they? I believe the request for qualifications were due back today. So I don't know how many firms actually put in for that. But I believe that at this point
they're due back. They're due back the 16th, Becky. I think that's Thursday.
The 16th is today.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll butt out.
So
no, I have. I just FYI, I have Bill Hurley on my other phone here. He's in his car because he was going to join us to talk about the second item on the agenda.
Oh,
so let me
can
see if I can
you
get
conference
him to
him
call in. Just hang on.
Okay, perfect. While he's getting Bill Hurley to call in, I can give a brief update on Perries Green, as I had spoken with I believe I'm not sure if it's the Commodore of the Pequot Yacht Club, but there is an interest, and I'm trying to get a meeting set up with him and Bill Hurley to coordinate. Pequot Yacht Club wants to do basically some renovations to their seawall at the same time that we're doing the Perries Green renovations. and it would be in the best interest of both the town and Pequot Yacht Club to try to coordinate the two projects so that we can maybe either bid them together or at least bid them at the same time. And if there are heavy machinery or other kinds of equipment that would make sense to share and potentially save costs, I think that would be a benefit for both the town itself and the yacht club. So I don't have a date for that call yet, but I am trying to get a call together so we can see if there are opportunities to coordinate.
Hey, Becky,
Okay.
this is Peter. Becky,
Yeah.
I also received a call from the Yacht Club making the same comments and asking about a meeting, and I was asked if I'd be able to attend, and I said that I would certainly check with you and the other members to see if it was permissible for me to attend along with whomever else, and if it is, if you could just keep me posted.
Yeah, you're welcome to join that. I think the key is to get Bill Hurley to coordinate, because I don't have sight of when the RFP will go out for that and what the timing is. So I think what I was trying to do is get him on the phone just to coordinate with that.
It was just today I left a message for Bill asking if he could let me know what the status is so I could report back. But it was just this afternoon, so he really didn't have time to call me.
Yeah, I had sent him a note last week, so hopefully when he gets on, he can give us an update.
All right, so this is Dick. I gave Bill the number for the bridge, and I expect he's going to call in. He's on the road. He's going back to the office. He's got another meeting at 7:30 or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Talk about busier than a one-armed paper hanger. That's him.
Dick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, Bill.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, Becky and
Hello there.
John and whoever else is there.
Yep.
Jeff, all right, yep.
So, Bill, we were just. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, if you want to just read off the, I know one was a Perries Green update.
Yeah, let's start with the Perries. Let's start with the Perries Green update, and then we'll just read off each one.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. The Perries Green update is we just did a QBS solicitation for consulting engineers for coastal engineering projects. We opened it up today, and we have 8 interested firms that we could distribute various projects for. So, in some cases, if it's a brand new project no one's familiar with or has background on, we'll look at all the proposals, and then we will select one. Some of it might be based on cost, but on this one we can do a quality-based selection and go from there. If there's a firm that really knows the area or we've worked with before, they may have a slight advantage, but it will be, graded and by 4 or 5 people in town, and so then we'll come up with the selected consultants that way. We could also select a couple of them and then ask for proposals as well. So there's a couple of different ways we can do it, but Perries Green and the wave breaker one, that would be falling under the coastal engineers. So we can hopefully utilize the solicitation that we just got today. So we should be moving forward with those projects.
So on Perry's Green, Bill, one of the things that we wanted to do was coordinate a call between your team and whoever you decide to pick for a coastal engineering consultant, and the Pequot Yacht Club, because they're looking to do some work as well, and we wanted to kind of just see if there are opportunities to cost save and coordinate the two projects, particularly as regards to adding any kind of height to the seawall. We would obviously want to, whatever height we were going to add, we would want, assuming they have the funds, them to be able to add that height to their section as well. So do you know when you think an appropriate time to at least start the dialogue with them?
Yeah, typically again, it will all be on how quick we can get a proposal, either we put out or that is given to us, and go from there. When we have what we call the kickoff meeting, which is basically, here's the scope, everything, this is going to be a rush job, this is ARPA money, so, whatever project we do has to be not only designed, but then, in the case of Perries Green, we need permits, we need it constructed before 2024, kind of thing. And so we would have the kickoff meeting, and we could invite members of the Flood and Erosion Board or FERB, whatever you call that, and then the Pequot Yacht Club as well. And then that way we're all in the room, together, so to speak.
Becky,
when do you think you'll make a decision? Yeah, go ahead, Dick.
Becky, this is Dick. I don't know why we must or would want to wait for a consultant to be engaged. Can't we have a preliminary conversation with Pequot just to see who's on first, who's on second, and what their thoughts are with what they want to do and what our respective visions are for the line of demarcation between the town Perry Green property and the Pequot Yacht Club property?
Yeah, Bill, I would suggest a preliminary meeting as well early, just to kind of, as Dick said, sound out what they want to do versus what we want to do. I mean, I assume we're going to write a formal request for proposal, even if we do have a consultant. They would put it out to bid, given that it's $1 million. Don't we have to do multiple bids for that level of
Well, that would be
funding?
the construction. Yeah, it would be a two-phase project. One would be the design and permitting, and then the other would be the construction.
So the design and permitting wouldn't have to go out to bid then. We could just you have authorization to just pick a consultant without having to bid even for the design phase?
That's why I can't give you an answer right away, because that's something that still has to be verified through purchasing and everybody. So,
so maybe we should have a preliminary discussion then, just to at least put on the table what your thoughts are, what Flood and Erosion thoughts are, and what the Pequot Yacht Club thoughts are, so that can maybe guide some of the decisions. If we know that they want to do certain things in a certain timing and we want to do other things, it would at least tell us whether there's a possibility to coordinate or not. Because if they're 3 years out, then obviously we're not going to wait for them, because we've got ARPA funds and we have to go quickly. If they're able to move next year, we can see whether we can coordinate. So maybe it's worth doing the preliminary discussion just to start to put some thoughts on the table.
Yeah, because if there's serendipity there, it might be that the design is done concurrently, but Pequot doesn't fund their portion of the overall project for 2 years or 3 years, but we do the Perry Green portion.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
There still could be joint savings by doing it that way. So.
Yeah, possible. And again, with the ARPA, we have to, for the construction projects, we just have to make sure we're following, the rules, but we should be able to. All right, well, if we could.
So, Bill, I shot you an email with the Pequot Yacht Club guys' email back. I don't know if I can resend that to you. Suggesting a couple different dates.
If you want to resend, I do remember reading it, but it was on Saturday, and so now it's in with all the others, so to speak. But if you want to resend it, that's fine. If not, I can hunt it down. So
no, well, why don't I resend it, and then we can see if any of the dates work, and if not, we can find some dates that do. That way, at least we can start to see where there are synergies and where there aren't, and that could guide how we move forward with them,
right.
if at all.
If nothing else, make them aware that we're moving forward and whatever. So I have no problems with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next one is the wave erosion study, and I did want to sort of.
I have one question I'd like to ask.
Yes, go ahead, Don.
Yeah.
Yes, Don, go ahead.
I favor raising the bulkhead 1 foot, but isn't there a house right next door, and the water would just come right by that house, and the raised bulkhead, would that help at all?
Well, on what we would do is we would ask the consultant to just at least in the beginning, conceptually look at what the effects would be if we raised it 1 foot. And then,
Right.
Hopefully that's only a week's worth of work kind of thing of just looking at what it would entail and would it be a benefit in doing that? Because again, let's just say the bulkhead ends up being 10 foot high, bottom to top or bed to top.
Yeah.
Well, now if we make it 11 feet, well, that's a 10% increase in the cost of the project. So that's one thing to consider. Do we get a real big bang for the buck, or okay, we have that, but then we have 6 other weak points, like you said, somebody's house or something else, a foot away, or does this hamper our chances of getting a DEP quick approval, or something like that? So we could definitely at least have the consultant take a look at it, because it's at least a question I think at least deserves a quick analysis, if nothing else.
Okay, I agree. Yes.
Right. Okay, the next project is a wave erosion study, and Bill, I wanted to make you aware that there are a couple groups that are looking into the possibility of seeing if we couldn't find a graduate student in a school, at Coastal Engineering School, to support us on doing a wave study that could possibly bring the cost way down, at least on the design and any kind of modeling costs. So I know that I'm reaching out to, I think her name is Kate Orff, who did the Rebuild by Design project that was part of the Staten Island Living Breakwaters project that got huge reviews and really positive stuff. And I'm asking her where she did her work and whether she could support and suggest.
Is that called Tottenville by any chance? Is that?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay.
And I think they did their work up in Canada. I believe the modeling was up in Canada, but I'm not 100% sure. And I know that Bill Perugini from the Fairfield Beach Residents Association has been working with the Sacred Heart, Dr. Mattei, to see whether she has any suggestions. So there were a couple people that were looking into stuff, and we just wanted to make sure that we're coordinating with you, that you're okay with us doing that, and asking what you would guide us to do, and specifically ask as we were looking into this. I mean, our thought was to try to bring the cost down from the design. If we could find a graduate student who was willing to do this as a project, it would obviously save us a lot of money, because the school would hopefully give us discounted modeling rates. That's at least the hope.
Right. Well, again, we can look into it, and then the modeling part would be, I think, the second phase of it. But again, I would probably at the kickoff meeting kind of mention that, or if you wanted to do one beforehand, just to at least, so if we end up doing seeking a proposal or whatever, at least mention it maybe as an ad alternate, that there could be either financial or labor, technical support, something like that.
Yeah.
So, all right, yeah. So on that one, that would be, again, under the Coastal Engineer QBS selection. I'm assuming that it would be one of these 8 consultants that have submitted for that one.
Okay.
And then the third one?
The third one is Rooster River, and that's obviously the detention basins. I know that a lot of that had been approved. Where do we stand on actually moving forward on that final phase?
They're about at 60% design for 2 or 3 of the detention ponds. 1 or 2, we for the Melville detention pond, we had them change the design a little bit because we weren't getting as much bang for the buck as what we had hoped. We're meeting with Anthony Calabrese and just started a dialogue because 2 of the detention ponds involve park and rec fields at Owen Fish and at Melville Park. And so, the potential loss of a field during a flood or a couple of days after a flood is something that needs to be discussed. And again, ultimately, it may rest on town officials to decide, what's more important, providing protection, flood protection, or, losing the field for a week, a couple of times a decade or something, you know what I mean? Or a couple of times a year, depending on, what kind of situation and final design. The other
I hope
thing
it doesn't
is,
come
I
to
met
that.
with the
I hope
neighborhood.
that there would be agreement on that.
Yeah, well,
that
we
seems
don't
like
know
an
that.
easy one to me, but
Yeah.
I don't
And then
have kids in soccer.
The other two, the Tungus Hill doesn't affect the field, and the Fairchild Wheeler, those are pretty good bangs for the buck, and we've asked the consultant to start applying for permits for that. So we're moving forward with them, and those will probably be the first ones designed, and if the permits we can get fairly quickly, first ones constructed. On that. Meeting with the Rooster River, as I said, this was mainly the Lynbrook and Moody Avenue neighborhood. They want us to dredge Rooster River, and I explained that that's a lot more complicated than what it seems, but I think the town is committed to remove at least natural debris and some man-made debris that's easy to reach that we might not need a permit for regarding that. So. And then the last one, only because I have the 7:30 meeting, so I apologize.
The downtown resiliency was the last one.
Okay, that one there where we have the consultant SLR. They submitted a proposal to us. We are going to look it over and see if there are any changes or difference to that. I know one of the things I think we're going to want to have is a not to exceed in there. And we just, as I said, just got it the other day, maybe Friday, and I have to review it with John and Laura, and then we go over and make some comments. But on that one there, we had a QBS for the green infrastructure, downtown resiliency, about from 2 years ago, and so we were just piggybacking on that since that we selected the firm that had won that. So, okay. We met with them. We're giving them information on the Lake Daniels or Daniels Pond tide gate, some of the pipe systems that are in the Sherman Green area, and then mentioned the pervious pavement at the railroad station. So we're giving them the information to help them assess downtown flooding and resiliency.
And they won't be doing any of the underneath the railroad bridges as part of that. Is that in scope for this or not?
No, not really. But it is possible that if we have to go underneath to get rid of the water, maybe it gets involved. But I think we're trying to do the addition by subtraction is intercept it before it gets to the railroad bridge. The one on Mill Plain in particular, and see if there's a way that we could do that and maybe help that one out as well. But Round Hill and North Benson, no. North Benson's a state road, and the Round Hill one, that's not part of this scope right now.
But the Mill Hill could potentially be in scope, at least in terms of diverting it prior to having it.
Possibly,
collect.
Yeah. But
that'd be great if that could.
That might not be the main thrust, though.
Right.
No,
okay.
I agree, but it'd be nice if it could be included, if it makes sense to include that, just to divert water before it gets to be an issue.
All right. I would say thank you very much, Mr. Hurley. You should get off to your next meeting so you don't keep them waiting, and we appreciate your comments.
I
stay in touch.
That, and and certainly if anything else comes up, as always, you guys can reach out to me or I'll reach out to you.
Terrific. Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Bye now.
All right. Any questions on any of the ARPA-funded projects or next steps from anyone?
So this is Dick, just for information. We have had someone else join the call, phone number 7309. Who is that, please?
Joan Adams, Bronson Road.
Joan Adams, okay. Hi, Mrs. Adams.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Any other comments on the ARPA mitigation projects? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to item 4 on call.
Yes, Becky, relative to Perry Green, am I correct? We're simply waiting to hear back from Bill on timing for a meeting now?
Yes, I will resend the note I had sent to him and see. I had actually suggested Thursday or Friday mornings. But I don't know if he's able to make those, so I will add a couple extra dates, and I will, Peter, I will copy you on that note as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the next item on call is reviewing the tax appraisal data and then also next steps regarding the Stormwater Authority and or Resilience Fund. So let's start with tax appraisal data. So Peter, I know you had been looking into that. Has any progress been made on that?
No.
Okay. So where do we stand on that then? So I admit I have not really gotten into it. It was a fairly large database. I have not really gotten into it. I could go back and relook at that, but what are the issues and what needs to be done still at that point in order to? My understanding is that was going to give us a number of what is at risk for future flooding, at least in the floodplain area, not necessarily the riverine area.
Becky, I need to look at my notes because I have not done a thing, and I thought my last note is we need to get back to Mega Jane, but then at one of our last meetings, we refined specifically what we were going to ask her, and I don't see that in my notes.
My understanding is we were going to ask her to do GIS mapping, and we were going to try to map worst case scenario, and then coordinate that map to the addresses on the appraisal data, so that we could get a number for a worst case scenario and we were going to ask her for a couple different scenarios, but a worst case would be 20 inches of sea level rise plus a Cat 3, and we were going to do a couple, I thought, intermediate ones. But what she could then do with the GIS data is map out which houses would be impacted in each of those different scenarios.
Yeah,
that was my understanding.
All right, this is Dick. I was also working on a parallel path along those lines. And my intent was to get a hold of, I'm going to butcher her name, Yaprak Onat at Circa, because she offered to do some kind of modeling, and Circa has these inundation maps that I thought maybe might be a springboard to looking at what Cat 3 hurricane inundation would be. And I had not followed up recently, but she was out on maternity leave, so that kind of left them without that modeling resource. So I will re-up that and see if there's any joy going down that path.
All right, so Dick, the action coming out of this is Dick's going to circle back to see if Yaprak is back from maternity leave. Peter, do you want to ask whether Megan Jane has bandwidth to do modeling? And then I think what we need to decide are what are the 2 to 3 scenarios we want them both each to model. I mean, I would put on the table that scenario 1 is, and I'm saying worst case scenario, but that may not even be worst case scenario, but it'd be 20 inches of sea level rise plus a Cat 3 would be one scenario.
I'm sorry, what was that first one again?
20 inches of sea level rise plus a Cat 3 inundation.
Becky, you know my opinion on that one.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why we're doing multiple scenarios, Don.
It's not even plausible.
So let's do another scenario that's the Don scenario. So scenario 2 could be just maybe 10 inches of sea level rise, just to see what a 10 inches of sea level rise. Oh, actually, one scenario would be scenario null would be today's scenario.
Right. Yep. Right.
Hey, 10 inches pushing it, but I'll go along.
Do you want to propose a 5 inch? What would you like, Don? We can certainly look at a lower scenario if you'd like. What would you propose?
Well, 6 or 7.
All right. So why don't we say 7 inches of sea level rise? So scenario.
Fair enough.
One scenario would be today. The null scenario would be today's scenario. With no sea level rise and no storm. Then we would have a 7 inches of sea level rise, and then we'd have a 20 inches plus a Cat 3 inundation. Does that feel like you're right?
Yeah, those sound good. And Don, I'm telling you, don't negate that 20 inches of sea level rise. It might be 2150, it might be 2225, but it might come.
Okay, not in our lifetime.
It won't be your problem. Yeah, it won't be my problem. It won't be your problem, but it might come.
But it's going to be our grandkids.
I doubt it, but.
All right. So I think are we agreed that we will ask both Yaprock and or Megan to look at these three scenarios and see when they can get us back that mapping, and then hopefully that mapping would then give us the street addresses by address, and then we can model that against the appraisal data to find the total risk to the town in terms of dollars.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that sounds good to me. This is Dick.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on then to any next steps regarding stormwater authority. And Dick, I know this is a particular favorite of yours. What is it you would like Erosion to review?
What I'm thinking is for our next meeting, I will write some kind of position paper request of the Board of Selectmen, because both the Resiliency Fund and the Stormwater Authority are both included in Public Act 21-115, which is all about the flood and erosion, coastal erosion, and so forth. So I think we need a document in front of us to decide whether we're going to petition our elected bodies to adopt these two measures into our charter or our town code. I'm not exactly sure how that all happens, but both of those are good things, I think.
Okay, I would feel strongly that they should be two different position papers, and we've got several position papers on a resiliency fund already written. I think we just need to, and I'd be happy to update that since I wrote those. Okay. But I do think that those are two separate items. And
I agree.
A stormwater authority is actually very complicated. It is a whole commission that is set up, and you have to basically review every single property in town and calculate the amount of pervious and impervious pavement, or basically the amount of impervious land on every parcel, and then that gets taxed in order to generate revenues to update your stormwater system. So it's a very convoluted process that is very labor intensive. And while I like the idea of updating our stormwater system, because I do think it's somewhat antiquated, I do know that the DPW is putting $500,000 a year aside each year to improve sections of it, and that's the way they're approaching it. So I think we need to evaluate: is there a benefit to the town of Fairfield to put a whole commission and a whole process in place to update our stormwater system faster, which is what a stormwater utility would do, and it would involve additional taxes for our residents. So it's a very convoluted and I think political thing that we'd be proposing. So that's why I want to separate that from a resilience fund, because the resilience fund is a fund that allows us to save for future mitigation and storms. And if we don't get a storm, we don't have to spend it.
Right. Not that it's easy, but it is another tool, another arrow in the quiver. Maybe not today, maybe not in 2 years, but 10 years down the road, who knows what the feelings overall in town will be about that. So it's just another mechanism that's available.
I think a position paper would be helpful for people to evaluate it. I just want to make sure the two are separated. That's my only request.
Yes. No, I agree with that.
Any other comments on either stormwater utilities or resilience funds?
No.
Anyone else? Okay, then I'm going to move us to the next item on call, which is an update on the Flood and Erosion Control Board proposed charter revisions. My apologies, I just sent that in today, but apparently according to Dick, who saw the updated backup for the Charter Commission, which is meeting today, it did make it onto their agenda. So we will know.
Becky, they saw your email and they said, "Oh my God, we better jump on this," and they did. So in the backup information for the meeting that I guess they're still holding it now, that is on there, and Article 10.12 has been annotated with the suggestions that we made.
Okay, so we will eagerly await the minutes of that Charter Revision Commission meeting, and we'll see what their thoughts are. I guess we'll hear that. Any other questions on Charter Revision? Okay, let's move on to the next item on call, which is the town clerk's letter and the 2022 meeting dates. We need to vote on officers in either today's meeting or the December meeting, and we need to firm up the 2022 meeting dates. All of that needs to go to the town clerk in January.
Right. I put this on the agenda with the word preview because there's no need to take any action tonight. We do need to take action in December on both the officers and the meeting dates for 2022, and that's all in the town charter. One of the things that we have outstanding is Peter Wiswell's term is up as of, and it's up as of, I think it's the fourth Monday in November is when the terms end. But if there is no replacement identified, the incumbent can remain official, if you will, for 65 days after the fourth Monday in November. So looking at my calendar, I think I looked, and Peter is still official. Whether he is reappointed by the Board of Selectmen or not, he is still official until January 22nd. So our December meeting, Peter will still be an official member of the Board of, or the Flood and Erosion Control Board, regardless of what steps the Board of Selectmen take or do not take. I sent around my proposed meeting dates. They're all the third Tuesday except for December. I did for 2022. What we did this year was move it up a week earlier to the second Tuesday so that it doesn't conflict with the busy holiday times. So we will take that up officially and vote on it at the December meeting. So that's all I have on that topic.
Dick, this is Peter. I spoke with Jen Carpenter and indicated to her that I was interested in maintaining my position with the Flood and Erosion Control Board, and she is going to send me a form of some sort to complete, and then she'll put it before the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, great.
Great. All right, let's move on to our last agenda item, which is any old or new business as may properly come before the board. Do any board members have any old or new business they would like to put on the table?
No.
All right, this is Dick. I would just for information, I think we mentioned this before. Bill Hurley, Becky, and myself had a conversation with I forget his name, Tim something, an engineer from the town of Westport, and he is the liaison with Westport's Flood and Erosion Control Board. There were also two gentlemen from the Flood and Erosion Control Board, and we just had a conversation about what they do, what we do, and we found out, and I found this especially interesting, that in Westport, their charge has nothing to do with the coastal water. They're just totally inland, and the only functional thing they do is to look at applications for construction projects along the identified freshwater waterways within the town and approve them. So they by their laws, by their town charter, I guess, they're charged with another level of review for new construction. And I don't know. I think, personal opinion, I think we do more that's in the spirit of what the state statutes are for flood and erosion control boards than they do. But And you can read some of the others. When Becky put together the thing for the Charter Revision Committee, she included a little thumbnail sketch of what a few other towns in Connecticut do vis-a-vis their flood and erosion control board. So that's an interesting read through.
Well, in Westport, who's in charge of flooding from Long Island Sound?
The town
engineering,
engineer.
I guess. Yeah, town engineer.
Town engineer. Oh, okay.
Right. The other. All right. So, any other comments on that? All right. The other thing I want to ask the board. We have made it a practice in the past that we would post on our webpage any appropriate documents that we would want to make available to the public, and I would suggest that we post the letter to the Charter Revision Committee. So just so that we document what our position is on those things and put some of the backup in there. The backup includes a synopsis of this new Public Act 21-115. So that's an interesting read, and some of our citizens might be interested in looking at that. So if you all are in agreement, I don't think we need an official vote on that. A sense of the body would be fine. If everybody thinks that's a good idea, I'll work to get that posted. If not. So
I agree, and I also think we should post our updated sort of 5-year budget proposal.
Okay.
And probably our updated master plan, just to kind of have those the more updated versions on there.
Yep. Okay, I will do.
Sounds good.
I got to go back and see what they're like, but I'm leaning more toward leaving the old documents as a reference and just putting the new documents. Any thoughts on that? As opposed
I'd be fine
to
with that, so long as they're as long as they're dated, then people can see the.
Oh yeah. They'll be identified. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
I have
Anybody else have
two
comments
other
on that?
things on old business. Kristen McCarthy-Vahey was going to be reaching out to her co-chair on the Coastal Caucus. I believe, and I'm blanking on her name now. She is the she's from
Branford,
from Guilford.
Guilford. Yeah.
And I apologize, I'm blanking on her name. But anyway, they were going to be having a meeting.
Me too, because I'm trying to get it here, and it's on the tip of my tongue. But she's a senator. She's a senator, so she's a big deal.
Yeah, so I will follow up with her and see what they did, because I know that they had wanted to have I had been encouraging her to get the Coastal Caucus going again so that we could start to see where there are synergies across coastal towns that have similar flood and erosion issues. I also had reached out to MetroCog and had spoken with them about possibilities of finding ways to see where there are synergies across coastal towns, and he had also said that he would bring that up at the next MetroCog meeting. And I did not get a chance to follow up with him and see what, if anything. I did not actually make the MetroCog the next MetroCog meeting, but Matt Fulda is the guy I spoke with. So I will follow up with him and see what if anything was discussed in that MetroCog meeting. But if there are opportunities for us to coordinate with other coastal towns, it seems kind of silly for everyone to be doing all their own isolated things when we could be seeing where there are synergies and where there are opportunities to work together and share ideas and resources. So I will follow up with both MetroCog as well as Kristen to see if anything came out of either of those conversations.
Yes. From time to time, I reach out to Kristen McCarthy-Vahey about that Coastal Caucus, and I believe it's Christine Cohen. Does that sound right,
yes,
Becky?
That is correct, Senator Cohen.
The co-chair, because she's a senator from Guilford or something.
Yeah.
The other thing, talking about the state legislature, Jennifer Leeper, who is now the state representative for District 132, whatever it is, but her territory is the entire shoreline of Fairfield, except for a little bit up in the Rooster River swamp estuary. God, swamp is such a terrible name. That Rooster River estuary, that's Krista McCarthy-Vahey has a little bit of territory there, and Krista McCarthy-Vahey then goes up the Rooster River. But all of our Long Island Sound shoreline basically is on Jennifer Leeper, and she was one of the co-sponsors of the bill that led to this Act 21-115. So she has an oar in this water of protecting our coastline from flooding and erosion and property damage and so forth. I exchanged emails with her. I did exchange emails with her, and I invited her to, she has an open invitation to come to one of our meetings, and either we can tell her something or she can tell us something, but we might start another conversation.
Okay. On other old business, Dick, do you want to update on Bill Hurley's visit to the culvert that had been the site visit that you had? Ms.
Golden, I see you're still on the line here. I believe it was last week that Bill and one of his surveyors actually went out to that culvert where the corrugated pipe came out of. And Bill crawled in there. He confirmed that, yes, that pipe was there once upon a time. It rusted away and then sluiced out. And what he surmised, that culvert is pretty old, and he believes that it was originally a stone arch, and then at some point they put that galvanized piece in there and then pumped concrete between the exterior of the galvanized piece and the stone archway just to reinforce the stone archway. And the concrete still looks good. He thinks it's perfectly fine for continued service. So that has been put to bed as far as the safety of continuing to use that culvert, even though the old form has finally rusted away and sluiced out.
Any other old or new business that any of the board members want? Otherwise, I will open it up to public comment.
No.
Nothing here.
Okay, are there any comments from the public? Dick, do you want to unmute people?
Joan Adams from Bronson Road again, 1728. I'd like to know, I've been in touch with Mrs. Golden. I'd like to know who I get in touch with, how I get in touch with someone to arrange to come to check out my property. I want to explain to them all the flooding that has gone on over the last, say, 3 or 4 years. And part of it, why I'm thinking, is silting in. And right now also, I've got a huge tree stump between my property and the neighbor's property, washed down from the last storm, was it the end of September, beginning of October. And she was supposed to call the town to see if somebody would remove it, because if it floods again and comes down, it will destroy my bridge. It's that big. So anywho, wanted to know, could I make arrangements with someone to come out to check out my property? I have pictures, but I don't know exactly who to send it to or what my next move is. But I am concerned, and I have been born and raised in this house, moved away, made the rounds, and came back again. So I know the area, and I know what I've seen over the years and the erosion, quote unquote.
All right. So, Mrs. Adams, this is Dick Mahusky. I'm sure Donnelly and Bertie would love to make another field trip, because he's like really into that, and I might accompany him. Similar to what we did with Mrs. Golden. Went out there and just looked and saw the situation and kind of documented what the collective thoughts were. As far as where to go from there, for instance, you said that there's a dead tree that came down the floodway onto your property. Tree stump. Okay, well, debris. Let's just call it debris. And if you are following at all the Rooster River situation over on the east side of town, there, it's like private property, and the town can't just willy-nilly go in on private property and do this and do that. So I'm not exactly sure of what the legal ramifications are, but one overriding thing is that private property is up to the private property owner or owners to.
Well, I know she's not waiting. I know she's waiting to whatever for me to do it because it's going to cost a lot of money. I've had 2 different guys that come do my landscaping to do work around the yard for me, and it's a big time project to do it. I mean, if they drag it, it's got to come across. It could go through her yard, but it's got to go across the brook to the other side, to North Cedar Road side. I don't care if somebody comes on my property to take it out. All I'm worried about is more damage to my bridge. Continually have had damage happen. 2018 was the worst I'd ever seen, except for 2 o'clock in the morning when I was watching the water rise. Like I say, it was the end of September, beginning of October. And I would have taken pictures, except it was dark and there was no way I was going out in the rain to take pictures. But worst that I've ever seen. But since 2018, the last probably 3 storms, just horrific flooding. Never, like I say, growing up here, never ever saw anything like it.
Okay. Well, let me do this.
Yeah, go ahead, Dick.
No, go, Becky.
No, I was just going to reiterate what Dick said. Is that I'm not sure, from a liability standpoint, the town is authorized to come onto your property, nor does it have the remit to. But I think I know that
if I give them permission to, I mean, I can give them permission
it's a cost thing as well. It's a cost thing as well. I mean, they just don't have the manpower to come into everyone's property and clean up things, but they might be willing to if you ask engineering and ask the DPW if they'd be willing to. But I can't promise anything. We're as you know, we in Flood and Erosion are a group of volunteers. We are not authorized to be able to authorize any kind of town employees to do anything at this point. But,
right, exactly. But I don't know as far as she's gone, if she's followed up or not. And I'm concerned because I don't want to wait.
She who?
My 1781 Bronson Road.
Okay.
Tim Sullivan, my neighbor.
Yep.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. So, like I say, I know she's holding off. And the tree had gone down maybe, 5 years ago even. Neighbor before her owned it. He left it sit there. I mean, like I say, I've seen everything between the leaves blown into the brook and everything else going on. But he left that tree across the brook, and at some point, I think she had some of it, sawed up, whatever, and moved. But I knew that tree stump was still there, and then obviously it keeps working its way down.
All right. Well,
it may be something that you and she have to share the cost on, but I think you can certainly get an opinion from the town whether they'd be willing to pay for it. But I would guess that they're going to ask, since it's private property, that the private property owners take care of it. I know that in the beach area, when people want to do things down here,
I thought that I was not allowed to touch anything in the brook because of the DPW and everybody else.
Yeah, there's a whole
level of rules and regulations.
Right,
yes,
there's a whole other level of inland wetlands, and I am personally not conversant with that. So, but that certainly is. The more I remain involved in this, the more I learn about state statutes that cover all kinds of unsuspected things that rugged individualism isn't allowed to do this or that. So
maybe
so
the next
let
step
me
would be for her to reach out to Tim Bishop.
Yeah, let me do this, Mrs. Adams. I'll call you.
Sure.
Are you around during the day tomorrow? I'll call you tomorrow.
I am not actually. I work.
Okay.
But whatever. If you can be here at some point, I will make arrangements.
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow evening. Let me put my heads together with Don and look at our schedules, and we'll come up with some dates, and we'll take a flyer out there.
Excellent.
And take a look.
Okay, I would appreciate that very much.
All right, fine, we'll do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other old or new business? Yes, Marcy.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank you for checking out the culvert. I really appreciate that information. And I was below Joan Adams' house the other day at the Ogden house. And if Dick and Don are willing to go out and look at that erosion, they ought to just go a little further down and look at the erosion in the loss of another wall in the brook at the Ogden House and below. And it's just indicative of, the whole section of Browns Brook is in so much trouble. And I just hope you can keep thinking of some way to, change what's happening before, we really have a disaster on our hands.
Okay.
So, I've been looking at that ravine up above the Mine Hill and Old Academy Pond, and it's so much of, there's so much room in there that it seems like the water could be slowed down somehow, or it seems like it's all, Fairfield infrastructure that's been created there. So I'd just like you to keep looking at it and seeing if
okay. And and the town is certainly aware of that. The inlet into the Audubon Society there at Mine Hill, and I don't know what the street names are, but anyway, the culvert there under the road, it's so shallow that during a heavy rain event that the water does just sheet flow across the roadway there. It's just too much for the culvert. So that type of situation during instantaneous heavy rains happens in many places in town.
Yeah, I know, but you'll see the some pretty extreme erosion right below Joan Adams' house if you continue down there past the Ogden House.
Yeah, okay, got it.
And I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other old or new business?
No, that's it.
Not here.
Any other comments from the public?
Waiting for your call. Thank you.
All right, then I am going to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, the Flood and Erosion Control Board meeting is adjourned, and I'm going to stop the recording now.
Okay,
thank you.
All. Good night.